Imagine you are standing in a dense forest 1,000 years ago. Suddenly your leg is sliced open by a sharp axe during work. In the year 1000 there are no sirens, there is no 911 to call, and there are no bright white hospitals with clean bandages or pills to stop the throbbing pain. When you look up, your doctor isn't wearing a lab coat. She is a village healer wearing a wool dress, holding a bunch of stinking weeds and a bowl of strong onion soup. For a Viking, staying healthy wasn't just a choice, it was a daily battle for survival. How did these legendary warriors survive infections, broken bones, and deadly diseases without a single bottle of aspirin or a shot of penicillin? The answer isn't just luck. Viking health was built on a foundation of secret nature recipes, surprisingly clean habits, and a diet that would make a modern athlete jealous. By looking at their daily lives, we can see how they fought the invisible enemies of sickness to stay strong enough to conquer the seas. First, we have to bust a big myth. Many people think of Vikings as dirty, muddy people with messy hair and unwashed faces. However, archaeology tells a totally different story. Vikings were actually some of the cleanest people in Europe. In a time when many people in other lands thought taking a bath was dangerous or sinful, Vikings had a dedicated Saturday bath day. In their language, the word for Saturday, lorgardagur, literally means washing day. They used strong soap made from animal fat and ash, which did more than just clean off dirt. It helped kill tiny germs and got rid of lice. Vikings almost always carried small grooming kits that included earpicks, toothpicks, and combs carved from deer antlers. This focus on hygiene was their first shield against sickness. They figured out that keeping the skin and hair clean prevented itchy rashes and skin infections that could turn deadly if left untreated. What happened when a Viking was seriously injured? They had one of the most famous and cleverest medical tricks in history, the onion soup test. If a warrior was stabbed in the stomach during a fight, the healer would feed him a soup filled with massive amounts of onions, garlic, and leeks. After a few minutes, she would lean down and smell the wound. If the healer could smell the onions coming out of the cut in the stomach, she knew the wound had pierced the intestines. In the year 1000, this meant the wound was too deep to fix, and the warrior would likely not survive. If there was no smell, she knew she could begin the difficult work of saving him. It was a brilliant, low-tech version of a modern X-ray. To fix the wounds they could save, Vikings turned to the green pharmacy provided by nature. They used sphagnum moss as a natural bandage. This moss is amazing, it's like a sponge that sucks up blood, but it also contains natural chemicals that kill bacteria. It was essentially a living, breathing antibiotic, Band-Aid. They also used a plant called yarrow to stop bleeding and willow bark for pain. Modern scientists eventually discovered that willow bark contains the same active ingredients we use to make aspirin today. While the Vikings didn't know the chemistry behind it, they knew that chewing on willow bark made a headache or a fever go away. Staying healthy wasn't just about fixing wounds, it was about the fuel they put in their bodies. A Viking's diet was like a modern superfood menu. While people in other parts of the world were eating mostly bread and grains, Vikings were eating lean meat, fresh fish full of healthy oils, and piles of berries like lingonberries and bilberries. These fruits were packed with vitamins that kept their immune system strong like iron walls. They also mastered the art of fermented foods. They had a special yogurt-like dairy product called skaya. This was full of good bacteria, or probiotics, which kept their stomachs healthy and helped them fight off food poisoning. By eating what the land gave them and avoiding processed sugars, they became bigger and stronger than almost any other people they encountered on their travels. Life, however, was still brutal. Winter was a silent killer. When the sun vanished for months, Vikings faced scurvy, a scary disease where teeth fall out and bones ache because of a lack of vitamin C. To fight this, they hunted for scurvy grass under the snow and even ate pine needles or seaweed to get the nutrients they needed. They were survivors who watched what animals ate and copied their behavior to stay alive. Perhaps the biggest secret to Viking health was the power of their community. In the Viking Age, you were never truly alone. If you were too sick to work, the village took care of you. Healers, known as leknir, were highly respected members of society. Most of them were women who passed down leech books of knowledge from mother to daughter. They knew how to set broken bones using wooden splints and leather straps so the bone would grow back straight and strong. It is true that their world was not perfect. Without surgery or modern tools, many people died from things we think are simple today. A bad tooth infection or a particularly cold winter could be the end of a life. They lived with the constant shadow of sickness, which they often blamed on invisible frost giants or spirits. However, despite the freezing cold and the dangerous wildlife, the Vikings didn't just survive, they thrived. They sailed thousands of miles in open boats and built massive trade networks, all while acting as their own doctors. Today we often reach for a pill the second our head hurts or go to the hospital for a small scratch. We have forgotten the names of the healing plants that grow in our own backyards. The Vikings remind us that the human body is incredibly tough when given the right care. They showed us that health comes from the food we eat, how we treat our skin, and how we care for our neighbors. They didn't have a modern pharmacy because they were the pharmacy. They used their minds to solve the mysteries of the body and their spirits to stay strong when things got dark. The Vikings didn't have our medicine, but they had a resilience that we are only just beginning to understand.